Welcome to the very first episode of the Faith and Fit podcast. This is where faith and fitness come together and real stories of struggle and victory are shared. Today, we're kicking things off with a powerful testimony that shows how faith can carry you through the ups and downs, the setbacks and the breakthroughs on the road to health. We're going to be going through my wife's Shae testimony that she's willing to share with us today. It started with her trying to gain up to 3,000 followers, and she hit that goal. And so now this is what she's having to do. So I guess we can just start kind of from your testimony, and I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. Trying to keep it short and sweet. I had a really happy childhood. I wouldn't say that I knew Christ deeply, but I was in and out of church throughout most of my childhood years. However, even though I did have some sort of relationship with God, I always knew that God had a presence in my life. I knew the basics of the stories in the Bible, but nothing ever really resonated with me on a deep level, I guess. But things changed for me in my early adolescent years. About 14 years old, I decided to move to Houston and live with my biological mother. I was somewhat convinced that her and I didn't have a good relationship, and I needed to move and live with her so that we could create some sort of bond. It got dark very quickly. I started experimenting with drinking and drugs, and I even was taken advantage of and manipulated by my mother. Was also very heavily into drugs, and that addiction clouded her judgment so much so that she sold me to older men for money. At the time, in the beginning of it, I didn't know the extent of it. She would call them dates. She'd come home and say, hey, so-and-so really thinks you're cute and he wants to go out on a date with you. And me not really caring, I would just say, okay, whatever. It wasn't till many years later, not many, maybe 2 or 3 years later, where I found out she was actually getting paid for these dates. And I only went out on maybe, I'd say, a dozen of these dates that she called them. But when I found out that she had been getting paid for them, I felt broken, felt lost, and just really vulnerable, and didn't know how to express myself. I kind of immersed myself in more drugs and partying, and kind of just hiding from the reality that I couldn't trust anyone. Decided to move back in with my dad not long after finding that out. All while this was happening, I had found a boy that I was infatuated with, and even though I was moving back in with my dad, I still wanted to have that relationship with him. And because of that relationship that was ongoing, I ended up getting pregnant over spring break with my first child. And that relationship with that guy was its own nightmare in itself. It was very dysfunctional and unhealthy. But we were young and stupid, and we just didn't take care of ourselves. But because I was bringing this baby into this world, and I wanted nothing but the best for all of us, we had to split ways. Now, there was a lot of monsters in that relationship itself, but because of my daughter, I've forgiven that aspect of my life a lot quicker than I was able to forgive my mom. And then, I had Kylan, and things were up and down always, but I was adamant about finding somebody that I could lean on. I was always so alone, and I thought I needed a man to make me feel like I had a purpose, especially after having Colin. And That's when I found Bryce. And even though I loved Bryce and Bryce loved me and we decided to get married and we had our own child, my past traumas were brought into our marriage and his traumas were brought into our marriage, and it made the first few years of our marriage rough. We fought constantly. Things were not looking like we were going to make it for a little while, especially in my eyes. But we had a little nudge at one point. I remember going to lunch with my dad and my aunts were there. And my Aunt Gail had just randomly leaned over and was like, you know, I would like to see you at church, or something along those lines. And at that particular time, me and Bryce were fighting so bad that I mean, we were just living like...
We probably had one of our biggest fights
right before that.
Yeah.
But we were basically living like roommates, and we'd been married for 4-5 years at that point. Yeah. It was so bad. And when she said that, something just clicked in me, and I was like, why not? Let's give it a try. We've tried everything else. Maybe God is the answer. And it took us a minute, right? Like, we were going to church for a good 4 or 5 months before we were like, what are we waiting for? Like, what? I mean, we're pretty involved, and we're here every Wednesday, every Sunday. Let's give our lives to Christ. And I don't want to sit here and say that everything's been perfect ever since, because that is nowhere near true. We have had our trials from the day we accepted Christ into our lives. But it's a different kind of pain that you go through, right? Like, I can explain the pain that I went through before knowing Christ as this deep, soul-crushing, just anguish. And then you have the pain that you go through after having Christ. And when you know his hand is on your shoulder, walking you through it, it's not as bad, because you know that you have something looking out for you, holding you and pulling you through it. There's that light at the end of the tunnel. It's basically the only way I know how to describe it. It's the before and the after. And my life, not my whole life, but because of this specific trauma that I struggle getting rid of, pain is a big part of my life. Trauma, mine is before and after. And I find myself just being able to smile a lot more than I was, even though I had a really amazing husband and these 2 great kids, and I felt like I was happy, but I was, but I just wasn't complete. There was something missing inside, because I just couldn't let go of all the crap that happened. And God has been able to be my outlet of I'm able to say, yes, all these crappy things happened to me, but it's not my fault. And there's more to my life than just all of these terrible things.
It's not your fault what happened to you, but
right.
It's your responsibility
to move on and make sure that the rest of my life and the people that I've brought into my life aren't feeling that negativity, because that was a big part of it, was me I didn't trust you, and I projected that out. I had no patience with the kids, and since finding Christ and since finding and starting our fitness and health journeys, I'm a lot more patient with the kids. I still have my days, don't get me wrong, but our marriage, we're a lot closer. We're able to talk to each other. When we do have arguments, they're not as violent.
fierce.
Yeah, because we weren't violent even before, but
it's just intense, because
it was like a lot of screaming and unable to get. It was just we were unable to communicate how we were feeling with each other. So especially, I know you had your own set of issues, but because I have this lack of trust in anyone and everyone, no matter what anyone would say to me, I just wouldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he loved me and wanted to be with me. I couldn't believe that there was someone out there that genuinely just wanted to see me happy. I was just like, why are you being weird? That doesn't make any sense. But when we found Christ together, it did start making sense. It was us being able to, and I think that was the best part about it, really, was the fact that we did it. We needed it together, and then we found it together, and now we're growing in it together. Not everybody's going to have that kind of story, but I feel like that's what makes ours so special, is that God knew that we needed each other before we even knew God, and kind of took us through what we went through before and together, in order to be where we're at now. What I'm looking forward to with my walk with Christ is watching my kids know God and know Jesus and know the stories in the Bible way more than what I even to this day know. It's really cool to watch the kids come home from church and explain to us what they learned, or come home from school and say, hey, this friend goes to church and I didn't even know that, and kind of talk about what their journeys are. That is what kind of motivates me more than our stories, is the kids
being excited for God.
Yeah, just loving their own journeys, and the fact that they're so young and so innocent and so open, right? Fueling that innocence with the right message, to not pay attention to what the world wants, and be in your Bible, pray, listen to God. That is the thing that we want them to take from living with us, and growing up, more so than anything. And it's kind of transformed from just that to, not only do you need to be obedient to God, you need to also be healthy for God, because you can't further his kingdom if you're unhealthy. And that includes your physical health, that includes your mental health, and all of these things. But that's my testimony for now, anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I would hope that there's somebody out there that can connect with you on that point, because there's a hard feeling inside when you're like trying to share something and open up about it and be able to piece it together. And you coming a long way that you have through your faith, it definitely shows. And so one of the things that I had a question about was, what about your faith, and like through your childhood and stuff like that? Like you mentioned that you weren't really in church. I mean, you went to church several times, but you didn't like really get involved like we are now, right? So we got to that point. What about the fitness aspect? What you said, at a younger point in your life, you weren't really big, but you weren't super skinny. You were just kind of like a medium thick girl.
Right. Yeah. So growing up from birth till about, I would say, I think I was 11, I was little. I was really little. I was Kylan size, Holden size, like, and I think that's probably where they get it from. I mean, I was tiny to the point where my grandparents thought that my mom and dad were starving me. But no, I was just little. And then hormones and puberty set in, and I kind of chunked up. I wasn't fat, I wasn't overweight, but I was a thicker girl. I was very athletic, though. I was in dance and cheer, volleyball, basketball. I ran track. I was very active outside. I played and had no regard for my life out with my cousins, jumping off the roof. And I mean, I was very active. So yeah, I was thick, but this self-esteem thing about my weight has always been there. I was always just slightly bigger than the rest of the girls in my grade. I had started puberty a lot earlier than a lot of the rest. I was 2 inches taller than everybody else, and 2 inches bigger in my waist. And that played a really big role in my self-esteem and the way I looked at myself.
And so like now, would you say that there had been a certain part in your life where your health or your weight or even your mental health affected your day-to-day life? Is that partly where some of that trauma that you explained in your testimony probably stemmed from?
Oh yeah, of course. So because I had even at that point was already kind of self-conscious about my size and weight and stuff. Even going to Houston and going through what I was going through, I looked at myself like I had to stay a certain size in order to be attractive. So, the drug use, the alcohol abuse, all of those kind of played a role in the way that I saw myself. Now, I also have struggled with mental illness for as long as I can remember. What they have diagnosed me with is low mood bipolar disorder. Basically, I don't get the highs like most bipolar people do. I'm only lows. Like, I only get depressed, I only get sad, I only get angry. A lot of it's anger. A lot of my episodes come out as just straight anger, and I think you can attest to the fact that I have bursts, just random, bizarre, unnecessary bursts of anger that I can't really explain. You're just left confused. You were smiling and laughing literally 5 seconds ago. What is going on? Yeah, and that mental health plays a big part of the weight as well, just because I'm so lost in my own mind and cannot control what I'm thinking and feeling that, like, maybe if I just go eat something, I can calm down, or smoke a cigarette, or whatever these unhealthy habits are. Those started developing over time, for sure.
What would you say was a hard line, like a hard, I guess, either like a turning point for you as far as your health, and what role did it start playing in the way that you changed and you saw yourself in needing to change as far as health wise?
Okay.
Like, what was your biggest point and the hard line in turning that?
Well, I think my biggest point, right, and when we really just saw, this was after we found Christ.
Because we went through that hard line. We know where that was.
Right. And then we kind of both saw, like, how unhealthy we were. And we're feeding that off of each other. And this seems really superficial and probably ridiculous, but it was that time we were invited to Six Flags. So we're invited to Six Flags, and if you know anything about me, I am a huge roller coaster person. I love rides. It's like an adrenaline thing. I love it. I've always been a fan of Six Flags. So we hadn't been to Six Flags since we first started dating. I think first time we went was like within the first month of our dating. So this was the first time we'd been in a long time, and I'd already had Holden, packed on quite a bit of weight. And the very first ride we go to get on, I can't remember what it was, but it was a harness ride. The ones where they pull it over you, and it wouldn't close. It wouldn't clasp or clamp or whatever you call it. And I remember feeling like absolute garbage, just so embarrassed, so traumatized. That was a really hard point for me. I could not accept that something I loved to do so much was over because of something so ignorant as being overweight,
Yeah. Something preventable.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember coming home and literally the next day I was exercising and starting diets and this and that. However, over time I did lose some weight after that, but I did end up gaining it all back plus some, I think, just because the consistency didn't stick for a little while. Then not sure what, I think it was you being so unhappy with that kind of pushed me again. You had said something about the picture of you coaching Little League, and you'd just gotten so depressed about it. So obviously, like, if I can't be staying on this unhealthy track while you're trying to get healthy, so I was like, let me be supportive and try to work with you instead of continuing down the path that I was on. And that was when I went and started the semaglutide shot. You had already been dieting and kind of exercising and stuff, but that wasn't for me. At that point, I was like, no, I want to take the easy road.
But in that self, it had to have still been a hard decision.
Yeah, at that point,
Right.
it was more of like is this even going to do anything for one? Is this going to affect my health? The cost of it was outrageous. So all these little kind of trivial things played a factor for sure. But it turned out that it did work. I'm not going to knock the shot because although it had its side effects and its downfalls, I lost 15 pounds within that first month. But, I remember us talking about it not long after starting it. I was like, there's no way that I can still continue these bad habits. And because once I'm off of it, all the weight's going to come back, right? Like, I have to still make that change too. I can't just expect this shot to be a miracle worker and all my problems go away as far as my weight. So I had to kind of buckle down and but that still wasn't really even my choice. I knew I needed to, but it wasn't until that push from you that I started being more consistent. The last year with the pushing me to exercise. To start exercising. So if you're talking about us meeting Chris and Alicia Elrod, it was basically just my line mixing with your line. Like at this time, it's probably a year after trying myself of doing a fitness program after fitness program after fitness program after fitness program of just sinking in and out, and then finally got on track and you was on the shot and my doctor said, hey, you're still not where you need to be as far as your levels, all that type of stuff. I'm reaching out, like I'm reaching for people, I'm reaching for fitness plans, coaches, all this stuff. And I just sure enough happened to see a post from Chris Elrod from school. He went to Scurry with us and they were cold plunging and they're talking about working out and doing all that stuff and getting a group together or something. And I just was like, hey, dude, that looks cool. I've been doing that. I'm glad that you're on this track. Good luck. And literally it was like maybe a sentence, not even a full sentence that I said to him. And he messaged back was like, yo, we're doing this every Saturday. Come join us. We want to get couples together. We want to help people grow. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, bet, like, come on. That's the motivation I needed. So sure enough, I had to definitely talk to you about it because it's one of those things where I wanted us to do together. And it was like that turning point of we can do this together finally instead of having our own path. Because at this point, I'm like not so far ahead of you, but in my journey, but I'm like wanting to help and wanting to kind of figure out because we were talking about. Yeah, because I was still making really bad, healthy habits. Not working out. Yeah, I was. That was the biggest thing. Then, so it came down to it is like I had to talk to you, and I was like, it was literally probably like 4 days until we were gonna go that Saturday, and it was at 6 a.m. And I knew that I had to talk to you and convince you. And the first day, it was like, all right, like we're gonna do this, Shae. I think this is something that could help. Blah blah blah. And then you were like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. Day 3 comes by and like I could just tell like I think we fought like a couple times like throughout. I don't think it wasn't a big fight until the day of. Well, not even about that. It was like those little things of where you always do this like if something big is coming up, you always try and like stir it up and like make something happen to where you can get out of doing it. Like, oh, my stomach hurts, or I feel bad, or we got too much going on. My stomach always hurts. Yeah, but like we got too much going on, Bryce, blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's 2 hours, and so sure enough, finally the day before, you was like totally against it. I think we were sitting in a hot tub and I was like, just think about it. Like we're gonna go, people are gonna help us and we're gonna help people and it's gonna be a community, a growing thing for us. But what you sold it as is we're gonna get on their podcast and talk about the business. Yes, we're gonna cold plunge and we're gonna work out. And I went, no fucking way. 'Cause I can't. I remember thinking, I remember Chris. I didn't like him. He didn't like me. I don't know his wife. I don't know who else is going to be there. I, at this point in my life, was like, I don't care to meet new people. Here was the thing about me and the weight and the shield that I had been putting up on my life. I was protecting myself with the weight that I had put on from the trauma. You know, what I went through as a teenager, a big part of why I went through that was because I was attractive and skinny. And me putting on the weight that I put on in my head in whatever messed up way made me feel safe. Like no one was going to be able to take advantage of me and treat me that way again. And so all throughout our marriage, you know, me raising Kylan, you know, I struggled meeting new people because that was anybody new that came into my life just had the opportunity to hurt me. And I would have been so against it. And so when you're pushing me to do something that I'm not sure of, I see it as an attack or you trying to hurt me. Now, I know now, after many, many struggles and fights, that like you would never do that to me and you would never deliberately put me in a position that was going to hurt me. And even if it did end up hurting me, you're going to be there too. So you're gonna be like, all right, let's go. But it's taken a long time for me to accept your help and that you genuinely just want me to be happy. Now, I'll never forget after leaving there, you're like, so it wasn't that bad. I was not giving in. I was not going to give in. I was like, no, it was the worst. And literally within a week, I was going over there and working out with Alicia because I was like, all right, he was right. It wasn't that bad, but
no,
it's still, honestly, the only thing that got me to go back was the fact that Alicia was so cool with the kids, because that would have been a deal breaker for me if they were like, why did you bring your kids over here? Well, they actually had invited them, but she watched them while we were doing the podcast, and we were in there for a good hour and a half. And the kids came out and they were happy. They seemed fine, and I was like, okay, maybe they're decent people, not so bad.
Yeah.
Chris wasn't exactly the way I remember him in school. No, yeah, he is. He's exactly the way I remember him. But no, they have pushed us. We've pushed them. I think we found our goals, people, you know, that we needed in our lives that would help us grow in the way that we needed to. And that goes back to God. Like, God gives you those people, those paths. It's even though I was kicking and screaming, I still went, I did it. And then I quickly realized that this was God's plan. This was what God wanted for me. He wanted me to see that I needed to trust Bryce and to start exercising and getting my health right. So.
Yeah, because after that, you decided to go upon yourself and start going by yourself. Because I couldn't go in the mornings because of my work schedule and stuff like that. But I was committed to going every Saturday and doing that. We did that for a while, and you went by yourself during the week for a while.
Yeah, put the kids on the bus, and then I'd head over there.
We did that for quite a while, and then ultimately we just kind of had our own timeline, you know, everything sports and all that type of stuff, summer and everything, you know, just hits. And we still continued our plan, though. We still make time today to go in the evenings and work out with them if they want. I know Chris has really been you know, pushing me to, you know, get to work out with them and stuff like that. And like, I like it, I love it. And as far as you had a stint where there was a bunch of women around town that would want to go work out with you in the morning. You know, now it's growing. Like even the community workouts that Superstar Army does on Saturdays, either once a month, a couple times a month, that you're involved in, that very greatly you advertise and stuff on there.
Oh, we're all involved in it.
We're all involved as far as.
They're so fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of women on there. So, man, if you want to join, come join. We got more men in the group. Don't be afraid.
I know it sounds intimidating when someone's going, oh, come join our community workout. Let me be very, very honest. Have tamed these workouts to fit beginners, pretty much beginners only, because Bryce could probably do the workouts that we do in circles, and we've been working out for over a year now. I still struggle with these just because I'm not an endurance trainer. I'm a lifter, and I do.
We have a couple people saying, hey, let's go another round, 3 rounds, or so we'll try a little bit more intense
but we do
stuff,
tame them down so that our beginners don't feel so overwhelmed. But I think we even had the conversation with Alicia that we're going to try to kind of make it a little bit more intense.
Just another notch.
I'm always there up front to show that even if it is intense, there is a beginner style that you can always do. Because even me, even though I've been doing this for a while now, I still struggle with it. So
and that's what it's about, like just getting out there and showing up. Like that's what I like about it, because in the morning, Friday, I usually work out in the evening, and like I'm dreading waking up Saturday mornings and going back to the gym. But it's like I almost want that so I can be like, I did it, I showed up, I got it over with.
That's a big thing for me too, is like most days, I would probably say 90% of the time, I don't want to go. But there's like this little voice in the back of my head, and it's like, you'll be proud of yourself. Like, who cares what anyone else thinks? But if you just go and you're even in there for just 30 minutes, you'll be proud of yourself because you did something. And that's more than what you were doing a year ago. And why not? Right? Like, as long as you're showing up for yourself, you feel good about yourself. And every single day, you want that more and more and more. So now I've gotten to a point where it's not even a thought. Like, there are still days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. It's not a thought of how can I get out of it anymore. Right. It's more of a, I don't want to go, but I'm still going to go. It's like second nature now. I can't help it. And that's a big thing for me, because if anybody knows me, I'm lazy. I'm so lazy. I hate going anywhere. I'd rather be in my house with my kids, laying down in the bed, watching movies. That is my comfort zone. But if I'm out of this house, if I'm at college cheer games, if I'm in the gym, that is me out of my comfort zone. So that is me being proud of myself, me working on myself, anything outside of my house. I don't want to do it.
And that, I mean, that goes back to the beginners, like the people that are out there that are scared to do it. Don't do it for your friends. Don't do it for your family. Don't do it for
your husbands or your
wives. Do it for yourself. Do it because
do it for you first.
Yes. And the rest will come, because as soon as you're doing it for yourself, you're going to have opportunities, and God's going to put it in your path to help others. And so all that'll just naturally come. Like you said the other day when Holden came in there and was like, hey, Mama, we're going to the gym.
Oh, my God. It filled my heart so much. The same way, like when Colin comes and is like, Mama, we have to go to church. Yeah. It's that same feeling. And I'm like, oh, I love y'all so much. They're my biggest motivation for sure, because they remind me every single day that. Now, granted, Holden only wants us to go to the gym because he knows he'll get some tablet time. But it's still like that repetition. He knows that this is what Mama does. And
it's the routine now.
And he watches. But what did I want to say? Oh, I completely forgot now. Go ahead.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
So there's just kind of like the same line of that where I know in my testimony, like that's a whole nother podcast or whatever, that I've had just kind of like, I guess, an epiphany of where I want to go in the future of building my fitness and building my faith and stuff like that, which is why I created Faith and Fit. It's not necessarily just a podcast, but it's an open forum for everybody to come and have a channel to vent, share your testimony, have questions, and be able to have like a group secondary community to do these things. Where did you feel that you had any major, I guess, setbacks or anything like that Was there anything like recent or anything that you can think of to like help you reset? Like, what does that reset look like when you do have a minor setback or major?
So as when it comes to fitness, those setbacks happen almost weekly. And I think a lot of people who are in this kind of lifestyle change can attest to that it happens more regularly than we want to admit. Whether it's what I ate or the amount of time I spent in the gym, how much I was able to do in the gym, or it's being invited somewhere that I really want to go, but our routine doesn't really allow for it. Maybe it's a small argument between us or the kids getting in trouble or doing something. These setbacks happen, and it's what's really, really, really important for me and what I have learned is not to even think about the setback, right? You just kind of deal with whatever you're dealing with in that moment. Like, screw it, eat that meal. You're already halfway through it. Finish it off, get back on track.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention. Don't say to yourself, oh, I really messed up, because you're going to mess up and you're going to do it again and again and again and again. But it's those failures are what helps you grow, because the next time you're going to go, oh, I'm not even going to eat that because I know how it made me feel. Or, why even start this argument? Or let's just talk it out. Whatever the situation is, what's important is focusing on the future, not the failure. Using the failure as growth instead of thinking you're just a piece of crap because you failed. You're not. We all fail. But how you use it is what's important.
I like that, because it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how quickly you get back up and reset.
Yeah.
Try again, do it again. And yeah, I think that.
And it's how you get up too. Like, if you're bitching and complaining about every little thing while you're getting up, you learn from your mistakes.
You're going to fall quicker.
Yeah. Don't keep making the same mistakes. What is that thing that everybody's passing around now? What you're not changing, you're choosing. If you're continuously making the same mistakes, and then you're just choosing to do it, and all you're doing is complaining at that point and making excuses. So change it. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to make those mistakes, but don't keep making the same ones, because then you're just choosing to be ignorant.
And it's like God does this all the time. He's going to put those situations in your path that are hard and that are easy. And if you're going to choose the easy route every single time, then you're pushing back those hard things. You're going to be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then eventually those hard things are the things that stack up and either make you lazy or make you slide in your worship or make you unhealthy. And eventually you're just going to be one of those people that is probably not sitting in the hospital, but laying in the hospital on machines asking finally for help. Or I'm saying, I'm willing to do something now. Why are you willing to do something now when you're at that point, when you can do it right now at this point before it gets to there? So
yeah, don't wait. If you even have a second thought right now and you know that things need to change, don't wait for something bad to happen in order to make that change, because sometimes at that point there's no going back. It could be your last day, and nobody wants that. I promise you there's someone out there that loves you and wants you around, and there are plenty of avenues. There's a ton of people out there that want to help you. Reach out. Don't be embarrassed, because everyone has to start somewhere. Yeah. And I guarantee you, these people that want to help you are not thinking anything negative. They have no judgments in their hearts. I know several people who would be happy to, help you out and get with you. And you don't have to be, but maybe you're only 10 pounds overweight and you want to just tone your body, or maybe you're 400 pounds overweight. I don't care. Reach out. Here to help. Or even something. If I'm not educated enough to know exactly what you need, but I right now am an avenue where I want to motivate you. I'll be your cheerleader. I will watch your videos. I'll come and video you. Whatever you need, you know.
Yeah. It's not just with fitness, it's with your mental health,
Your faith.
your faith too. If you're beginning on your journey, or if you have questions, and even if you're already down long far in your journey and you need a new perspective on things, because sometimes that helps a lot too. Reach out to somebody.
Trust us, we've started over 5 billion times, even after being baptized. Our journey never ends, and we know that there are people out there like us, and that's why we're doing this, because we're just here.
That's right. Well, thank you for giving your testimony and talking, answering some questions. Is there anything else you think you might want to go over?
No, I'm sure someone out there will have a question.
Or episode 2. Well, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to the first episode of the Faith and Fit podcast. This journey just isn't about losing weight and getting stronger. It's about becoming whole inside and out, with faith leading the way. If this story encouraged you, share it with a friend who needs some help today. I hope you subscribe, like, share, comment, give us feedback, anything like that. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Faith and Fit. Pray, train, repeat. Peace out. Colin, you're supposed to press stop.
Come on, you go. Cut.